Hello, everybody. Pastor Randy at Shepherdslight Ministry. So, I want to bring some facts out to you today. I haven't been on here for a while, so today's the day. I'm going to give you guys a video. There's a couple that God's been laying on my heart, but we're going to go with this one first because this is really important. So, we have our primary elections coming up, and I know, don't even go there. The church and state separation, we're going to go into that too. Don't worry, I'm going to educate y'all today. So a lot of places like Africa, if it's not for the church, people don't get educated on politics or what's going on. It all goes to the church, believe it or not. And I know we're not Africa, but this is just one example, and I want to just bring this to your attention. Like, church and politics is all through the Bible, but just give me a minute because we'll get there. First, I want to focus on something else, and that's what's happening in our school systems. And this is why Christians need to pay attention to politics, and this is why Christians need to be involved in politics, because if not, the world is in charge of our kids. The world is in charge of the decisions that are made within our government. So if we're not in charge, they are. So why should we not be? Like, it's common sense. Literally, common sense. If you can't put the common sense together that if Christians are not the ones in office, then the world is the one that is making the laws and enforcing the laws and indoctrinating our children in our society, then there's a problem. Like, yes, we are called to politics. If we are not involved in politics, it's the world who is in charge. So if Christians want Christian laws, they gotta be in office, just to verify, okay? So we're just going to keep it there, that common sense. So there's some statistics I actually want to bring out, but there's also a few other things. So recently it has been brought to my attention that Planned Parenthood is, and we all know who they are and what they do, and if you like them, please just don't even. Anyways, Planned Parenthood is in charge of basically killing babies. They're baby killers, murderers in my eyes, because if you are going to take a baby and you're going to murder it or do something, then you're a murderer. Point blank. Like, God gives life. We need to stand on life. He's the only one that's supposed to give life and death, not us. This is not our job. We are not God. And when you start killing babies, you're playing God, and we got a problem. So what Planned Parenthood is doing is they are backing a bunch of people up for school board. Democrats, liberals. And what they are implementing, which they've done this in Allegheny County already, they're trying to bring it all over the state. And what they're doing is giving our kids... Okay, so if your child gets pregnant, your daughter, they can go to the school nurse, and the school nurse takes them to Planned Parenthood. Planned Parenthood then has an attorney there. The attorney takes them in front of a judge, and the judge deems them as responsible and of a sound mind, then lets them go back to Planned Parenthood, and Planned Parenthood then gives them 2 pills for abortion, and they are able to take these 2 pills to abort their child. The parents are never notified. They're doing this on their own. All they have to do is say, I'm afraid to tell my parents. I don't want them to know I'm pregnant. Which, seeing most parents today, I have no clue why any child would be afraid to tell their parents, because more parents are friends than they are disciplining their children at this point. So this should not be an issue, but it is. So these kids say, I'm afraid to tell my parents. They go in front of the judge. The judge signs a little paper. And we all know Allegheny and Pittsburgh, how the judges run. They are paid and sponsored. Who put them in office? Planned Parenthood. They paid for their campaigning, which this should come out on financial documentation, because you have to issue a financial report. But they use a name or a false name. We all know how this goes. This already came out. And they put somebody's name on there. Sometimes the person's dead. Sometimes they're a Republican even. That this person contributed financially to their campaign, when technically it's Planned Parenthood who paid for the campaign, and this is what they're doing for school board right now. And they did it for the judges, so it's all a big loop. So the judges say, yes, you are deemed responsible to go to Planned Parenthood and get the pill and get an abortion. It's all a big cycle. No, you don't even go there. I'm a conspiracy theorist. Look into it and then tell me I'm a conspiracy theorist. So your child can get an abortion without you knowing. Some people say, okay, that's not the worst. Have you ever statistically looked at the statistics of a person bleeding out, dying, or having to have a blood transfusion due to these pills? Because that's what you do. You bleed out the baby. Like, it doesn't just pop out and boom, there's a child. Like, you bleed a lot. And when you bleed a lot, are they telling them that you need iron? Because you need iron when you bleed a lot. Are they educating? No, they're not. They're giving them a pill, sending them home with no parental supervision. A doctor used to have to monitor this when they did this originally. And now all of a sudden, you don't need a doctor? You do if you give one to a dog. You need observation and a vet. So why is it different for a child? A high school child. Think of this. With this being said, this is why Christians need to be eyes open always. This is also why Christians need to be awake and looking into this. And this is why you need to be involved in politics. Go to your school board meeting. How do you know what's going on in your school board if you don't attend a meeting? How do you know what's going on in your community if you don't attend a meeting? Like a council meeting. So many people are really quick to run their mouths and complain about their city, but they've never gone to a council meeting. Never step foot. Do you know when one is? Do you know the power and authority at your local level? Let me educate you a little bit. So Trump just said, and this is an example of another example of why we should be involved in politics. So Trump just took a lot of the federal rules and policies, not all of them, but there is a separation. So you have your federal level, your state level, and your local level. And this is something most voters don't know. Why they are not teaching this to our children in school is beyond me, or because I don't remember learning it. But it needs focused on a little bit more. So at your federal level is all your federal laws. So lots of people thought when they took out the Roe versus Wade thing that, oh, no one can ever get abortion, this and that, and it's so wrong, and da-da-da-da. Okay, you abortion murder babies, murderers. Let me educate you. No, it was so what happened is, the right to get an abortion or not to get an abortion was then given to the states. They're like, this is not a federal issue. The federal government should not be determining if you should get an abortion or not. Legit, it shouldn't. There's federal things, federal issues. Like, example, the military is a federal problem or a federal issue because we fund the military. So the federal government should regulate some of the things within the military within reason, because obviously they can't tell them like, oh, you're going to march or not march. But some things they should have power and authority because the military is government funded and they are a federal agency. Okay, another example is a federal regulation is our trades that come in and out of the country. That is a federal issue. Federal. Now, our state issues are our roads. Yes, they fund our roads. So our roads should be, are the state roads, because you have state and then you have local roads. So our state roads are controlled by the state. Another thing that our state controls now is abortion. So Pennsylvania can buy its constituents, which that's us, the voters, should tell our state government whether we want abortion or not want abortion, and then they vote according to the majority of the voters within their district if they want abortion or not. That's a state issue now. So the state says yes or no to abortions. The states fund, and you have a state level for your school, and then you have a local level for your school, which that's why you have two budgets, a state budget and a local budget. So some of the stuff is state regulated. Like, there's state testing to make sure the schools are doing their job for the state to monitor and justify the budget. I'm not even going to go there because I'm state tests. Let's not even. I'm not saying I approve of them. This is just an easy way for me to educate you how this works. So our school systems are funded and, the state controls a lot of it. And then you have your school board. Same with your local government. So you have your local government, your state, or your county, which your county is your sheriff, your judges, your council, your tax collectors, things like that. That's another thing that the federal government does is the IRS. So you have your state level that this, controls the state taxes and the state IRS. Then you have the federal that does the federal. I hope this is breaking it down so you understand, because most people did not learn this in school. So let me be the school teacher today. Call me Teacher Randy. So at our local level, which is our local taxes and our school taxes, they control that and that money. So everything's separated. So you have your local, your state, and your federal taxes. And what money those take are the government agencies or entities that they are in charge of. So you have your local level, your state level, and your federal level. The same as like the laws. To break it down, if the county and your local level has more power and authority than the federal. Yes, you heard that correctly. So when do most people vote? What do they think is the most important? If you took a survey of your friends, most people would say they think the president has the most power and authority, and that's why they elect or go to vote for the president. Wake up call. It's the local government. This election that's coming up this year is more powerful than the president's. It's more important than the president's. So if you are not registered to vote, get registered to vote. I'm telling you, do it now. If you need help and you're in this area, I'll help you. You got to be registered, especially as a Christian. Only 25% of people of faith vote. 25%. So you know what that means? Only 25% of Christians are, one, exercising their legal right to vote. 2, exercising their power and authority. 3, standing up for what they believe biblically. And then the other 75% is the world. So the world is in control of our government, and we wonder why it's a mess. Hello? If you are a Christian, you should be, number 1, voting and registered to vote. If you are not a Christian voting and a registered voter, shame on you. Like, just shame. Like, this is like more, just, there's no excuse. You should be registered to vote, and you should be a super voter. I am a super voter, which means I vote primaries and I vote each election. That's rare. It is a very low statistic. I know that this election coming up is more important than the presidency. And I know most people don't know this. What is a primary? Most people don't know. So a primary is your time. When you say, I don't like who's on the ballot. Well, did you vote in the primary? No. Most people don't know what the primary is. So the primary is when you have an option to pick who's on the ballot in November. And if you didn't vote in the primary, you can't complain who's on the ballot. And another thing, people don't realize how this is done for the primaries. So if you are registered as a Republican, you vote for the Republican that you want on the ballot in the fall. If you are registered as a Democrat, you vote for the Democrat that you want on the ballot. Now, PA has only a 2-party system, Democrat and Republican. So if you're an independent, I'm sorry, you don't vote in the primaries. The primaries are only for the 2 parties, the Democrat and the Republican. Do I agree with this? No. But this is how it's set up, so just listen. It's education, not opinion right now. So you have your Democrat and your Republican. So if you do not vote for who you want on the ballot, they're not on there. This right here is you determine it. So when somebody says, I'm going to run for school board, I'm going to run for council, you go and you decide if you want them on the ballot according to your party. Democrats only vote Democrat, Republicans only vote Republicans. If you didn't vote, shame on you. You have no right to complain. So Democrats are voting, Republicans are voting. That's who's on the ballot. Now that we got past that, we shall move on. I hope you all understand. If you don't, comment below. I will answer you with as much knowledge as I have. I've been not in politics, but I've been around enough political people for the last few years. I've got the education. I may have been on a committee also. So here's some of your information that most people don't know. And this is the thing. People are not educating people on this. You need to be educated. So your local so you determine right now at the primary, which is in March, or is it May? Who is in, I have it wrote down. I'm sorry. May 20th is when it is. But remember, mail-in ballots come out before that. So it's May. Anybody that wants to run for office has to have their stuff in by March. So anybody that's running for office gets a paper. So many people have to sign. So this is the process. You have to have X amount of signatures from your party. So if you're a Republican, you get the Republicans to put those signatures to get you in. If you're a Democrat, you get a Democrat. There are a few parties, a few things, like school board's one of them, that you can run Democrat and Republican. Not for every, you can't do this for every area, every office, but school board's one of them. So you can run for both on both ballots. So your party you get so many signatures and you say I'm voting. Then your party, which is bigger because it's more people, you know, some of the signatures are 10, some are 3, 500, depending on which level you're at and where you're voting. You have to have X amount of signatures within your district. So if I live in Newcastle, I can't get somebody in Ohio to put a signature for me. If I'm in Newcastle and I'm running for Newcastle, I can't ask somebody in Iowa City to sign my ballot. It has to be in Newcastle. So with it in your district, you have X amount of signatures. Then you go on the primary ballot. And then on the primary ballot is when you have that voting for the Democrats or the Republicans, and it's more constituents, more people voting. And then if you win that primary, you are then on the November ballot. And then in November is when the Democrats and the Republicans and the Independents and the Green Party and whatever other party they want to add for the year get to vote for who they want in office. Now, at a federal, state, and local level, what happens is those voted into the federal office only make federal decisions. Those in the state only make state. Local make local decisions. So the local party, your local government, is what determines your local streets, your local laws, your local whatever. Like Newcastle, for example, they're the ones that vote if you can have chickens or not have chickens. They're the ones that vote if you have orange bags for your garbage or you don't have orange bags for your garbage. If you're not happy about it, you should have went to a council meeting or reached out to your thing, because it's not a matter if you agree or if you don't agree. Did you do something in the beginning to prevent it before you complain about it? So they determine your local laws, your local, like, whatever. Now, the sheriff is appointed in, and this is really important because we're up for sheriff right now. So when you vote for people, you need to make sure whoever you're voting for is a Christian, number one. If they do not reveal that in their campaigning, you need to contact them and say, are you a Christian? What church do you go to? Do you tithe regularly? What do you believe? Because this determines a lot. If they have a love for money, they're not going to work as hard for you as if they don't have a love for money. So if you're tithing, then you don't have a love for money. Just an FYI, clue. Like, this is something that you need to ask. This is going to help you determine if they're a real Christian or not. You test the fruit of the Spirit. Then once you so you need to reach out to these people that are running before the primary and say, who are you? And I want to know about you. And I want to know biblically where you are. That is very important. No matter if they're a Republican, Democrat, no matter where you are, a Republican or not, you ask that person before the primary and you determine. So you find out, do they have a love of money? If they go to church, what church, or do they go regularly? That all needs to be known because we're Christians and we're to vote for Christians. And I want to know where you stand biblically before I vote for you. So sheriff is up. We need to make sure that the sheriff that gets in office is a Christian. Because you know what? When COVID happened, who had to enforce the local law? The sheriff. The sheriff is the one that is to stand on the Constitution. He is our last line of defense. Our local sheriff has more power than our state or federal government or our local government. They are our last line of defense. Sheriff is up for office right now, and it is the most important seat in the office right now is sheriff. So we need to dig into who's running for sheriff, and we got to know who they are, what they believe, and what they stand for. Number one. I'm on it. I'm meeting the dude. Who's running. I don't care. And I'm asking him, and he better be ready because I got questions. So that is at a local level, the sheriff. Any county seats, our county judges are at a local level. If you don't like our judges, you better make sure you vote for the primary because they are up. There's also another question on the ballot coming up is, do you want to retain the judges in office? If you say yes, they stay in. Just for an FYI. If you say no, then you have the right to vote a new judge in. So if you don't like the judges we have now, you better go vote. Because our local judges are up for office. If you don't like how they're determining cases, you better vote. Another thing, school board's up. School board's very important because guess what? If you don't have Christians in the school board, who's determining what your kids learn? It ain't Christians. Why do we think our kids are being so indoctrinated? So back to my whole Planned Parenthood murderer people, the murderers, they are actually supporting the school board, right? There's 4 seats available for the school boards this term. The next time you vote, there's 5. So it's every other time you vote for school board. The first time is 4. The second time's always 5. This time it's 4. So right now we have 4 seats open for school board. We have to vote. If you don't want your kid being taken to a judge to determine if they can have abortion without you knowing, you better be voting. And you better make sure it's a Christian who believes in pro-life. Because if not, your kid could possibly have given a pill and they can take it without your knowledge. Another statistic, let's go there for school board. I'm staying on school board, and this video, of course, is longer than I wanted because that's what keeps happening lately. So 69% of 8th graders read at an 8th grade level. 69%. That's our state statistic. I'm going to throw another one out to you. Our Newcastle is probably lower than 69%. I didn't look it up, but I need to. And if they say it's above that, I'm going to call BS. Because our youth, we have 15 youth that come regularly. We have about 25 youth. If we ask them to read the Bible when we're teaching, 90% of those 25 kids are unable to read the Bible if we ask them. So let's see which levels the Bible's written in. The NIV and the CSB is at a 7th grade reading level. The NLT is at a 6th grade. ESV, 10th. NSB, 11. King James is a 12th. What Bible do we use in this church? I use an NIV, and we have some NIVs, which is at a 7th grade level. When does our youth start? 8th grade. Most of them can't read out loud the Bible. What is the NLT? Because that's the Bible we give the kids. It's at a 6th grade reading level, and our kids cannot read the Bible. We have a problem. If they can't read the Bible, they don't know the truth. What happens? What's the Bible say? The truth shall set you free. So technically, I could twist or turn the Bible according to how I want to, and these kids won't know. Why? Because they can't read the Bible. Just one statistic. Okay, those of you who say there should be a separation of church or state, right there, prime example. If I separate myself from the school board, if I separate myself from what these kids are learning, my kid can get an abortion and he can't read. Why do we have this core maths crap that nobody understands or can help their kid with? Core math. What's the point of it? Why is it when I asked so we had a program, not this summer, the summer before, And it was the 4th, 5th, and 6th grade girls. And I had 8 girls that we went through this program, and it was just to build them up. And it was like women in the Bible, and it was to teach them just like that they're valued, and God looks at what the inside of them, the inward beauty, and not the outward appearance, which all girls at that age need. There was 8 that attended. 2 of them were homeschooled. They had to send thank you cards out one week. The 2 homeschool girls knew how to address an envelope. The other girls did not. So one day at youth, we had a guest speaker, and I asked them to send that person a thank you card. Guess what? I gave each of them a fake envelope to make sure they knew how to fill an address out first. And I have them. And not one of the 15 kids that were here that week knew how to address an envelope. So that's 15 plus 6 kids in Newcastle School District who do not know how to address an envelope. That's over 20. Shame on you. Another thing that happened is they wanted to work out because they know the women work out on Monday. So we played a game and we were going to work out. The youth, 18 were here that week, did not know basic workouts. Jumping jacks, sit-ups, crunches, push-ups, did not know how to do them. Shame on the gym teachers in Newcastle School District. What are you doing? So I asked the kids, what do you do in gym class? The girls said, we walk, because if we walk, we're allowed to have our phones. I'm like, oh, so you're working your fingers out and not technically working out. Why are our kids obese? Why do our kids not know how to physically take care of themselves? As a Christian, I am told my body's a temple and I should take care of it. If we do not take a stance on this, our kids are not going to know the right from wrong or how to grow up to be the citizens that they are called to be. We are the parents. God gave these kids to us to steward. They are not our children. They are God's children. And if your school and you're letting your school do this to your kids, shame on you, because God left you in charge of his child. It is your job to make sure that they are cared for properly. So if you are not voting, shame on you. You are letting God down. Yes, I said it. And yes, I'm mad. I am in a righteous anger right now. And this is like Jesus flipping the tables. This is my flipping the table moment. I am telling you that you need to be voting. We are a steward to everything, our community. It is our money, our tax dollars that fund the community. LCAP paid 11% of the county's rent. 11% this year. That's my tax dollars. Get a job, buddy. We are called in the Bible to work. What's it tell us in 2 Thessalonians 3:10? Man shall not work, man shall not eat. Do I think people need help? Yes, I was a single mom. I did not get child support. Is there times I needed help? Yes. But guess what? I took that help as I put myself to school and I worked. Then I got 2 jobs to support my family and I got off of government assistance. I took my time and I did live on government assistance, but then I got myself out of it. We should not be dependent on the government. We are to be good stewards of God's money. If we are not voting, we are not good stewards of God's money. Because who we put in office determines where the money goes. If you are not voting, you are not being a good steward of God's money. You're not being good stewards of your community. You know, in the Old Testament, the men were called to a mountain. Was it once or twice a year? I don't want to mess this up, so I'm not going to say 100%. I think it was twice a year, but it may have been one. and I used to know this off the top of my head, so I got to relook. I'm sorry, I don't want to quote it wrong. They used to have to go to a mountain once or twice a year in front of God, and they were accountable for their family and their community, the men. So you men who decide not to work, you men who do not decide to vote, shame on you, because guess what? You are responsible when you get to heaven. And so are us women, because we have the right to vote. So if you're not voting, guess what? You are not being a good steward. That's all I got to say with that one. You should be a good steward of everything that God has given you and put in your hand. And voting is one way you can do it, because we then have the right over where our money goes and how our people are taken care of. So hogwash on the separation of church and state, because you know why there's a separation of church and state? It's so the government cannot control what religion we follow. It protects us, the church, Christians. It doesn't protect the government. It protects us. I'm glad that the enemy turned it around like he did with the apple and Eve and enticing her to eat it. Because he knows the Bible, he knows the Constitution, and he takes it, and he is a huge manipulator, and he is a liar and a thief trying to steal, kill, and destroy us. And he uses our words and our actions, our past against us. So he flips the Constitution, and he flips the Word of God. So if we can't read the Constitution, and we can't read our Bibles. Hello. Pay attention and hold your seatbelt. Fasten your seatbelts. So the separation of the church and the state give us free exercise. And it says that the government cannot be part of civil issues. Yeah. They have to stay out of, I'm sorry, I said that wrong. I'm doing backwards again. That's what happened. I don't know why when the anointing hits me, it's backwards. But, okay, so let me correct that. It says the government can only be part of civil issues. That it has to stay out of church issues. That means that if the church wants to stay open during COVID, they can. It's our right. If we want the right to assemble, we have the right to assemble. If I want to speak in tongues, it's my right. If I want to worship without a mask, it's my right. The government has to stay out. Get out of the church's business. Because you know what God's biggest thing is? Don't touch the church. And what's happening to those that touch the church? Look into those people that came against the church during COVID. See what's happening in their lives. Check it out. But this is why, get back on track, the Constitution makes the people sole authority over the government. It's us, the voters, if you vote. It protects us that we are allowed to worship who we want. That means if I want to worship Bala, I can. If I want to worship the Muslim God, Allah or whatever, I can. If I want to worship Jesus, I can. That's my constitutional right. It doesn't just protect the Christians. It protects all religions. All. Yes, my famous word, all. We can worship whoever we want. If we choose not to worship, we don't have to worship. How about that? We don't have to. So this is all back to like the Rome. When Rome was taken over and then they had the Roman Empire and they took it down. That's why they made this law. They learned from the past. But it's also biblical. Because if you read the book of Daniel, what happened to Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego? Nebuchadnezzar said, you're going to bow down to me and you can pray to no other God. And if you do, you go into the fire. The fire. That's why when they wrote the Constitution, they gave us this right. The Constitution was biblically founded. They fasted and they prayed, which is something they don't teach you when they teach you about the Constitution. This is like a hidden secret that nobody wants to talk about. They shut the doors, and they said, we're not leaving here or eating until this is figured out. So they fasted. Hello, it was biblically found, our Constitution. So for those of us that are in the church to not have anything to do with the laws and the government and voting, it's hogwash. Hogwash. It's pig poop. We are to stand our religious right. We are to vote. We are to be involved in politics. We are to know what's going on politically. We are to pray for politicians, which we do once a month here on the first Friday of every month. We pray. When we have all day prayer, the 19th, which is President's Day, one of our prayers will be held for the government. We pray locally. We pray federally for the federal government and the state government. Join us. President's Day from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. We are praying for our government. We are called to pray for them. Yes, we are. Hello. I hope that some of you are being woke up. I'm just, the way that the enemy has, in the spiritual battle that we are in right now as a church and as a local government, it just blows my mind. Like, it blows my mind that people don't see what's going on and how the world has control of our children. It is very upsetting. So what I'm going to ask you to do is to dive in. If you have a chance, please run. There are so many offices right now available locally. Make sure you run. Yes, I am encouraging you as your pastor. I am encouraging you to vote, to run locally as in an area that you know and where your heart's at. So you can't not have compassion about it. Or make sure you have compassion. And then in that area, if you are unable to run for a position, you should be praying and you should be voting. If you are not registered to vote, get registered to vote. Like, by the end of February, make sure you are registered to vote. Every person that attends this church, I hope and pray that you are a registered voter. If you do not, but you watch us, you should be a registered voter. If we don't stand our ground, then our kids are going to be pushed to the world. Our kids need Jesus. They need salvation. Our rights are being taken away. We need to stand for our rights. If you don't want to do that, shame on you. So I am encouraging you to run for local office. I'm encouraging you to make sure you vote this election. It's very important. I am encouraging you to register to vote. I am encouraging you to get out there politically to help those who are Christians to get into office. I am encouraging you to go and question those who are running for office to see where they stand biblically. This is our time. We are in a spiritual battle. Stand up and take action. I am calling you out today. And with that being said, I'm going to let the beans out of the bag right now that Pastor Randy is running for school board. Because during the 21-day fast, I felt the call. I've known these statistics, but when I heard this Planned Parenthood thing, oh, no. As I see what's happening to our children, if I don't stand up and get on school board and do something about it, I am just as guilty. I am letting the enemy take over our children, and I'm not doing it. I am standing up for our children. And today I am encouraging you to do the same thing. Well, I'm going to end this video because it's way past the thing and my blood pressure is beyond high right now and I shouldn't be. And I am like in Jesus flip the table modes. But please listen to this video, share it, let your friends know. Like, you need to stand up for our biblical rights. Please, I am begging you. And thank you for those who have. And thank you for those that are. And I just ask you to just share this video. Take it prayerfully into consideration. Fast and pray for those who are running for office if you don't do anything else. And vote, vote, vote. And get all your friends to vote. And thank you for listening to my rant and watching my blood pressure get up. And have a blessed week, because I'm going to go read my Bible now. I need some time to worship and pray. I'll see you all this week sometime. Love you.